a good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live. And it is Thursday night, and every Thursday night at 9 p.m., we, myself, Julia, and this wonderful chat, we go over Crown Rules, A Woman's Journey to the Throne. Um, it's another great Thursday, Julia. And how are you?
Yes, ma'am. I'm well, Quentin. How are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. Interesting. I got a text from you, and you were excited about the show tonight. You
Yes,
were reviewing some stuff. What's the excitement? The topic?
the topic, this chapter 5, your standards. It is probably the most extensive chapter in the book because I guess this is where the heart of the matter is at. Just as a reminder to everyone who's in the chat or everyone who is thinking about purchasing the book or has already purchased the book, this book represents my journey to self-discovery and reclaiming myself and paying attention to the processes that I
Hmm.
had to undergo and sharing that with other people. I think as humans, as females, as males, there are similar processes that we have to undergo um, to not only heal from trauma, but to establish a new way of being. And I think some of those processes are the same across the board, no matter who you are. And in reading this chapter, I got to see again to prepare for tonight. I got to see again that this is where the crux of the issue lied, my
Hmm.
standards. And
So
so I was just excited.
you always start off your book, and I love to quote the first statement that you always start off each chapter with. You said there are
Yes,
times when we sacrifice the totality of who we are in exchange for the limiting ideal of what we see. You want to explain that statement?
absolutely, absolutely. So I think, and we talk about it on this show. We talked about it on Crown Rules too. It's a conversation that's common. It's commonplace these days about what you should want for yourself. There's the conversation we talked earlier about, the high quality man or the high quality woman, and everybody feels like that's what they should be pursuing. But not everybody wants the same things.
Hmm.
And sometimes, in order to feel successful or to feel valued or to feel like we fit in, we can sometimes chase those things that we see everybody else has, those limited ideals. But those things, those outside things, don't always match what we want for ourselves. And so we sacrifice what we truly want in the process of, trying to live up to societal standards.
You think I'm
And
gonna ask you a question. Do you think that a lot of times um we as we would say a person is single or not and not get and it's not about relationships, really about the standards that you acquire for yourself. When you have those standards for yourself and you going through your journey, and then when you want to add someone into your life or into your space, do you think a lot of times we compromise those standards?
I think that we compromise those standards in some instances. And I think the reason why we do compromise them is because we don't believe that other people will value them or other people will meet them or other people will understand them. And so I think we tend sometimes to maybe set standards for ourselves, but are not transparent with our significant other and what those standards are.
And also, just that's a two-part question I want to ask you. Do you think that
Sure.
do you think that a lot of times people have these, let's just say, and it's crazy because it really isn't the word standards, it would be expectation. Well, these high standards for someone else they want to come into their life, but don't have those same standards for themselves.
Um, I think that can be the case, but I think in those cases, you really are not setting yourself up for success in achieving what you want. One of the things that I noted on our advertisement or promo for this week was Sierra's prayer for Russell. Um, she had shared at some point that she had prayed for him. And so women were like, okay, so what was the prayer? Tell me the prayer. Tell me the prayer. Because, now we all want to Russell.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a Beyonce, but all the women want to Russell, right? And, the thing that everybody missed is that it wasn't just the prayer that Sierra made for him. There was some realignment and readjustment and some examination she had to make of her standards for herself, how she was living her life, the choices she was making, and the decisions she was making. She had to become the person that could be married to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's always interesting when a lot of us we sometimes use as a measuring stick, but sometimes use celebrities and say, goals and relationship goals, and we don't even know what the individuals went through or are going through to put on the face of happiness. In reference to Russell and Sierra, I always find it interesting that a lot of people will criticize, will praise Russell, but have to criticize Sierra's ex, which is Future. And it's like, why do you have to criticize him to give Russell his credit? Why can't you just say that maybe she found a different type of happiness after she moved on from Future, Russell was able to create and increase the happiness that she had going for herself. It's an interesting thing how we sometimes look at celebrity relationships that the ex always have to have been bad or whatever. Is We're just real interesting human beings when it comes to looking at that lens.
No, and no offense to Future, but I mean, he has how many baby mamas, you know, and was looking for more. That's a stressful lifestyle, and maybe she chose him. She chose him for some reason, right? And she was with him and she loved him. She had a child with him, right? But at some point, she decided that the lifestyle associated with that relationship was not what she wanted for herself anymore. So it doesn't make him a bad person. Her standards changed.
Do you think when we discover or say like standards, like it do you think that it really has to in going over your work and going over what you said like earlier with reviewing the chapter from the first time you decided to write the book, do you feel like, wow, my standards, because me and you discussed something earlier and I told you that what you were telling me was foreign to the person that I know today, um do you see it like, wow, because my standards changed from that point in my life to now, like I'm a totally different person.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we should look forward to and accept, that as we live and as we grow and as we gain more exposure to different things, that our desires will change. They naturally will change. And if we allow ourselves to grow, our standards will change as well. One of the things that I talk about in the chapter is saying ouch before we say no. And, I think that there's a phenomenon in our culture where, we have to experience the hardship before we say, okay, that's enough. That ouch before that no, no more. And it's like once you get to a certain point where you don't feel like saying ouch anymore, then you become more conscious about your decisions. You become more conscious about who you want to connect yourself to. You become more conscious about the decisions and the choices that you make, so that you don't have to continue to say ouch. And that process is a matter of elevating your standards.
Mm. Let me see. I think I noticed something.
I love this chapter.
You highlighted something that said love without the side effects. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes.
That's like eating a steak without the sides, without the broccoli, without the baked potato.
Listen, love without the side effects. I think, we were talking a little bit about it last week when we were talking about your love and how love can feel. And that when love feels safe, when it feels protected, when it feels trusted, when it feels valued, that's a good feeling. And it allows you to be more of yourself and be more present in everything that you do, because you're not on the defense. And I talk about love with the side effects, the stress, the tension, the headache, the disappointment, the sadness, the confusion, the lack of stability. It's okay to have love without all of those things. Like,
Mm.
it does exist. And I think people sometimes, because of experience or because of things that they hear, there's an expectation that their love has comes with drama,
Yeah,
you know, and the
yeah.
and
Like
the
like
only
like
drama.
like you'll hear people say that. You'll hear people say like, I'm single because I can't deal with the extra stuff, or I can't deal with the baby mother, the baby father, the insecurities, because sometimes a lot of, like we discussed earlier, sometimes people be so insecure that they'll push their insecurities off on their mate. And this is a dangerous thing, that sometimes people will be so cautious, like we should be cautious of those side effects, that you like, you know what, I'd rather just be by myself, because yeah, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. I'm not going to subject myself to it. How do you think that person needs to approach, or what would you suggest how should they should deal with that? Because I mean, we were created, and this is something that I realized during the pandemic even more. We were created to be sociable. We were created to be have mates. Um,
Connect.
we want, yeah, we were created to connect. You either connecting with someone, or even for those people that do it, more than one person. But to be isolated and by yourself, and not socialize and not deal with other human beings, you're repressing something. So how would you think that person should approach trying to find or connect love without those side effects, with really trying to fight that off?
Well, I think that's an excellent question, Quentin. I think the first thing, right, is that in order to elevate your standards, or at the point that you're elevating your standards, which will happen multiple times throughout our lives, a level of isolation is required. Some people don't know how to be alone. And, that's a problem as well. You do need to be able to spend some time with yourself to do that personal inquiry, to understand where you are, to understand where you're going to go, where you want to go, and to make a plan on how to get there. So I think a little bit of, that time alone to do that reflection, and to set that intention, is important. It's also important to be sociable. I think for the people who are resistant to connecting, I think they need to expand their circle. I think a lot of times people are resistant to connecting because they don't want to connect with what's in their circle. And it's at that point that you need to expand, you need to expound, you need to look at other opportunities, the things that you enjoy to do but have never done. Do that thing. That will expose you to a new circle of people. And in that new circle, you may find the possibility of the partner or the relationships. It doesn't even always have to be romantic. Just the people that are meeting you where you're at.
Nicole said, yes, I think that also some people are used to having a bad relationship. When they get a good one, they think something is wrong. Too good to be true. They think they sabotage the relationship in some way. Oh, Nicole, that is so true. That is very, very common. And they'll even get to the point where they start peeking and snooping and trying to find stuff that they think is there that's not there, and then they start role playing in their head. I'm quite sure that a lot of us that are a certain age have done this, and you'd be like, "What the heck was I? I was bugging." And it goes back to what Nicole, me and Julia had a conversation earlier about the insecurities. So many people got insecurities that they don't realize that their insecurities get pushed off on their mate or even their friends. Like, you so insecure that um you can't even be happy. So it's a very interesting thing.
Absolutely.
And like King said, overthinking, just living. You don't want to do nothing crazy, but at the end of the day, like, some of us just need to, just as they used to say, live and let live.
Just chill. Just
Now you
chill.
thinking, I remember the one meme I seen, and some people have a false habit when they're home. I'm gonna just give, when you got your phone. Hello, there you go. Got your phone. Some people have a habit. Now I have a habit of just turning my phone like this and putting it face down.
Face down.
I remember it was a meme that saying, for people that do that, that mean they got something to hide. I mean, who thinks of stuff like this?
It's part of experience. I mean, anything that we see circulating through social media is part of someone's experience. Like, be honest about it. It's part of someone's experience. The problem comes in where we judge people's actions based on what we see, what we heard, what we've been told to think. If you're in a relationship with someone that you trust and they turn their phone face down, there's no need for you to be suspicious about that. So, it's just a matter of, what you decide is important to you, what you decide you're going to believe, and then whether or not you believe that the person that you're with is trustworthy. Or are you going
Yeah,
to
just
let social media dictate to you what you should trust and what you shouldn't?
two gonna be missed. The only thing is I'm hiding is the blue light from the phone. E- even that aspect, like, you could have I mean, a lot of times, and I've seen it. I put myself in certain situations where you could be a person that does a lot of their business off their main phone, if you got one phone or two phones, and a person will be like, your phone will be ringing, and then everybody gets those inboxes where people inbox you late at night, and you be like, I don't even want to hear that ring.
At
Like,
this time of
I
the
don't even want
night.
to hear that bell. Like, that bell bothers me. And then it's like, you so insecure, like, start peeking over. And even one time, remember, Jules, they had the meme where Jay-Z was looking at his phone and Beyonce was cutting her eye at the phone. Like, they created a
But
whole scenario from that little picture.
but it's real. I remember I was dating a gentleman, and every time he went to the bathroom, he would take his phone with him. And I thought that was disgusting because, ew, why is your phone in the bathroom? Like, you're gonna have it on your face, you're gonna have it in here. But he would take it to the bathroom with him. And I understood from seeing that number one, he did have things that he want to hide. And then number two, that the people that he was dealing with were checking his phone. So what that said to me was that he wasn't an honest person. So it was like, take your phone and yourself and go. But you have to trust your gut, right? Nothing says that, your gut will always tell you what's up. Your gut you'll either, some people feel when things are off in their stomach. Some people feel when things are off in their shoulders. Some people get like chills. You know what your internal alarm system is, and when there's something that's going on, then you know. Hey, Tila Shaw. Hi, Nicole, two grumpy men, and Joelle. I saw everybody in the chat.
So
Good evening.
talk to us about the pressure of the hurt that the relationship causes. Is that what you highlighted? Yeah,
Yes.
the pressure of the pain that the relationship causes.
Yes. So in looking at my own experience, and in looking at experiences that my friends have gone through, and other people, and just evaluating, there are very particular things that you go through when you know, right, that the relationship that you're in is not going to prosper. And some of those things are highlighted on page 69, but I'll just go ahead and read them since we're talking about them. And again, like, once you go through this, you make a decision that you want something different. You got to hold to that and never sacrifice that. Or if you haven't been through it, here are some signs. So the first one is, like, suppose you're in a relationship that's not going well, and it's to a point where maybe a decision should be made that this is not working, but you're not ready to make that decision, or the partner is not ready to make that decision. The first thing that will happen as a sign that things are wrong is that instead of focusing on the issues that you're having, or the problems that you're having, or the pain that's being caused, you tend to focus on the good times that happened in the beginning.
Mm.
And focusing on those good times that happened in the beginning kind of force you to not be as strong or as determinative in making an end, because your mind will tell you, oh, it was once good, it can be good again. What
It
else
was
can
all
I
good. It was
do?
all good a week ago.
It was all good in the hood.
Yeah.
you know?
Oops. Oops. Oops.
So,
Oops.
like, that's the first sign of the attempt to hold on to something that is no longer serving you, focusing on those good times to kind of get you through the bad times. The next one is continuing arguments over the same thing. Now, I don't know how many people have experienced that, but usually those arguments, hi Michael, welcome. Usually those arguments are either based on the fact that the person is not able to do what you're asking them to do, or they don't want you to do what you're asking them to do. And so it's the same conversation over and over and over again. Why?
Mm.
That goes into either not feeling heard or being ignored. And then, what did Tila Shaw say?
You have to maintain your peace. Don't put yourself through unnecessary turmoil if you don't have to. If you got to question it, you already don't trust it. So free yourself of that stress.
Free yourself of that stress. But the thing is that most people don't know what the signs are of that. And so that's why they're in the book. So you can see the signs. The other one is using manipulation to get your needs met. And that has a lot to do with, like, checking the phone. Like, you don't trust somebody. So instead of just asking, are you seeing someone else? Are you in a relationship with someone else? Now you're trying to check the phone to see what's going on.
You think? Let me ask you a question. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not going off the subject.
Of course not. Nothing's off
You
topic on
think
here.
you you think that when a person encounters someone,
Yes.
okay, I met you. This is even in business, because I've learned that this you can do this in business. Well, listen, Julia, I have a lot of insecurities about business, about trust. I have major trust issues. Do you think that a person should let that person know? Now we know casual one shot deal business, that's different. But like if you're used to always doing business with somebody and then nowadays everything is PayPal, pay electronic, like I have an issue with paying over the phone. I still go old fashioned and pay my bills via mail. And even when the
Hmm.
bill collector may call me and I'll be like, I'm not, no, I'm not giving you my credit card information. I'm not giving you
Hmm.
my debit. I just won't do it because of I'm old school in that aspect. So do you think that a person should say like, even in a relationship, like, I'm into you. However, I have a lot of insecurities. I'm insecure because that could be red flags for that person. The other person be like, you know what? I don't want to deal with nobody that's insecure.
So first, I think we all have insecurities about one thing or another, right? And so that's fine. I think that if you're going to share with someone that you have these insecurities, that's a manipulative practice because what you're really asking them to do is to fix for you what you haven't yet fixed for yourself. So, just because you're in a relationship, it's not your partner's responsibility to do everything that they need to do to make sure that you don't feel insecure or to make sure that you feel safe on the things that you should already feel safe on. You should already have a certain level of confidence. You should already have a certain level of trust. And you should already be able to communicate when you feel like the things like your standards are not being met. It's not up to somebody else to help you solve your insecurities. That's something you have to do for you. Repetitive book. That's when you build your mental bridge towards a peaceful gate of stillness.
I mean that, but then you might get, but Julia, then you might get some people who are so accustomed to that chaos. Chaos is what brings them joy.
The chaos brings them joy.
Did you hear me?
Did you
Yeah,
say
the
the
chaos
chaos
may bring
brings
them
them joy?
joy.
Well, then that's their level of
Yes.
standard. Their level of standard is chaos. And that's okay too. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody do what you need to do. If you like chaos, if you like drama, if you like stress, if you like arguing, do that. There are plenty of people who are ready to do that. So, would you consider that insecurity or manipulation, malignant narcissism? I wouldn't title it. I wouldn't
Mm.
title it. I'm in the mindset where I'm moving away from the term of narcissism. I know or narcissist. I know that it is a valid psychological term, and I know that people can be categorized as that. However, I think in labeling people that, number one, we
That's
don't.
become that's become the common label nowadays.
It's overused. It's overused. You know, some people, there are good people that have bad behaviors, and there are
Mm.
bad people that are good sometimes. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like in labeling, what we're doing is we're boxing them in and saying that they don't have the potential to change. But number two, we're also not seeing the potential or the opportunity for them, to grow as well. So I'm moving away from that, and I find that everybody that is involved with somebody who is not pleasing to them is labeled as a narcissist. Maybe that just wasn't your match.
And that's another thing is that to truly be happy, not just for yourself, but maybe for a person that you were involved with in the past. I mean, a lot of us are so caught up with being hurt and being angry that we're so angry about the situation that we put ourselves in. And I always try to say ourselves in because as I would say, the word that grinds your gears is picker. You picked the mess, you dealt with the mess. Now you're in the mess, and even when you get out of the mess, you're still bitter. Um, and you see that a lot of times. And when a person, as you would say, when a person goes on this journey to reclaim your throne, you should be able to be so in stillness in your own happiness that what that person's doing or whatever shouldn't even affect how you feel.
Um, Agreed. I agree. And one of the things that I learned through my journey, which I try to encourage readers of the book to be open to as well, is that with the exception of an abusive relationship, like, I mean, emotional, psychological, physical, mental abuse, with the exception of those, but even sometimes those, every relationship that we have pushes us further along our path if we're open to learning the lessons. You're welcome, Tila Shah. Thank you for the comment. If we're
But is
open to learning the lessons,
okay,
we
and this is
discussed last
why
week.
for those of you in the chat, we know that always try to put the book up and promote the book because it is basically a virtual book club that we're doing. And in
Mhm,
each lesson, in each chapter, Julia has these. It's like a workbook, so to say, and she
mhm.
has things that you should write down and note and prioritize. And in this particular chapter, I know that it has some key points. And like King said in the chat, repetitive and abusive thoughts that seek to replace the reality of the current negative situation with fantasy of points with fantasies of positive experience had in the beginning. And that's the point that you were making. Like, you ain't happy. Situation at present ain't happy, and all you keep doing is trying to romanticize the past and talk about how the past was and how
That's how
good it
people,
was.
yeah, that's how people stay in relationships so long, waiting for the
You-
good to come around again.
it's funny. It's funny that two grumpy men. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that, man. Really
Thank
do.
you.
It's funny that you said that because I find myself, and it's not a relationship thing, but at that point, I find myself falling into sometimes, and then when I listen to certain people, I see that they do it too. It's the fact that a lot of us had a lot of, as I like to say, a lot of us had a lot of fun when we were younger, like real fun, and then some of us never matured to get out of that fun and then become a responsible adult,
Adult.
maybe an adult, and then being mature and doing as we would say grown folk things, doing what grown folks do. And it's amazing how those people will still in their head like talk about stuff that you did 20, 25, 30 years ago like it was yesterday. Not a memory, not yo Julia, remember such and such, remember we did such and such and we was all at the haunted house in the neighborhood, and not that, but I'm talking about like really living in the past.
It's a condition. I think it's a trauma response. I think it's a
Mm,
trauma response because you can always create something new. You can
mm,
always create something new, but when you rely on what was, it means you're not looking forward to the possibility of what could be, or even what is, or even what is.
mm,
I had a person that I was talking to, and we were talking about manifestation and love relationships, and she was like, "Well, what are you looking for? Because you have to be specific. Like, are you looking for a man? Are you looking for uh, a companion? Are you looking for a spouse?" And it's like, I'm looking for an adult. Let's
mm.
let's try
Interesting.
an adult, please.
And adult for 300, Alex. Respect to Alex. Adult for 300, Alex. Oh, the daily doubles.
Right. Someone who has taken the time to do that self-reflection, right? We all, no matter how sweet life can be, we all have had experiences in our lives that were probably less than favorable. And, understanding how we responded to them, how we communicated throughout them, the impact of them, what we'd like to do moving forward. Those things are important. Adults evaluate experience, and adults determine what should come next, and part of that has to do with your standards. What do you desire for yourself? What do you want for yourself? And then not compromising from that. The moment that you don't compromise from that, you don't allow those experiences to come into your space anymore, and you allow those things that align to how you're thinking presently. If you're stuck in the past, how are you managing in today's world?
And those in the chat, just to give you guys some background, right? Of me and Julia when we have our discussion in prep for the show. Me and Julia had a discussion this week in about Terry McMillan had a book called Waiting to Exhale, and the book became a movie, right? And I want you guys to rewatch the movie now compared to when the movie came out, and those of us that watched the movie when it first came out, and those of us that may watch the movie now or have read the book, and look at how you view the book and or movie now compared to how you may look and view the movie
Yeah,
then. I know it sounds crazy that we may be promoting another artist's work or another author's work, but if you really Terry McMillan really did an interesting job in that movie, in the book, and it really came off and talked about the complexities of relationships and knowing where you are in those relationships and in your personal growth and journey. And I think that Julia's book, one thing that it did for me in reading the book and going over it was it it unpeeled the layers of what you may think a mature, respectable relationship may be prior to your age. So I would suggest that people reread that. Go ahead, Jules.
One of the other this chapter in the book has some really amazing key points. So one of them is love without the side effects. The other is not having to say ouch before you say no. And then the other one is about falling into relationships. And I think that it's in Pausing to Breathe. I read the book, then watched the movie. Yes. 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 Good evening, Dwayne. Never late, always on time. So the other key point is like talks about falling into relationships. I think when we don't have our standards in place, which this chapter is about, again, it's about your standards, what you want for yourself, what you desire for yourself, how you want to feel, which is really important, especially towards manifesting everything you want. How you feel is about falling into relationships. Dwayne, um, I don't believe that people really sit down to have conversations about who you really are, what you really want, how can I contribute to that? How can I support you? How can you support me? What does honesty look like for us? What does trust look like for us? What does love look like for us? What is intimacy for us? How does intimacy feel for us? Like people don't have these conversations. I like you, you like me. We went on a few dates. Everything is good. We can eat a meal together. You let me have some food off your plate. We good. Let's go. Right? And it's like, no, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. And part of that not saying ouch before you say no is having those kinds of conversations. One of the things that I lay out in the chapter is 5 key principles that women should be paying attention to when they're looking to connect with men. Like I'm putting you up on game. in this chapter. Like these are serious things to consider. Whoever you have in your life is
You,
influencing your
you,
life.
I know you just spoke about something that I agree with 1,000%. I think that a lot of people, even to the fact where they'll start even making kids and never had that conversation. And I think this is a major trap that we all set for ourselves when we do this. When do you think this conversation needs to be had? Does this conversation need to be had over that first dinner date, or the first walk in the park, or the first like outing, the second one, the third
Um,
one? What would you suggest, like from experience? I know for me, I think that conversation needs to be had within the first three dates.
I think that it's a matter of feeling. Again, I go by feeling. I don't necessarily go by, time frame. I think it goes by feeling. I think the moment that you feel that this is a person that you want to be with and you want to spend most of your time with, and that feeling is mutual, then that's when you should have that conversation. I wouldn't have that conversation because it's the third date. I wouldn't have that conversation because we've been seeing each other 90 days. I wouldn't, have that conversation because now we want to be intimate with each other. When you feel like this is the person that you want to spend the majority of your time with, that's when and it's mutual. Well, even if it's not mutual or you don't know if it's mutual, right? Check yes or no. Come on. Do you want to date me? Yes or no? But but have that conversation. You can't, I don't think it's prudent to have that conversation before you feel it.
Okay. So the conversation should be come from it should come from a organic space of feeling.
It should come from an authentic space of feeling.
So let me ask you, what if you're ready for that conversation, and the person that you want to have the conversation with, soon as you bring it up, they look at you like, uh,
Then that's not your person.
mm, mm, okay,
I also talk about that specifically toward for women because we have this idea. Well, two things I want to make on that point. We have this idea that when a man says that he doesn't want a relationship, that he doesn't mean that. we tend we tend to hear it as, oh, he doesn't think that he doesn't think that he doesn't want to he thinks that he doesn't want a relationship, but he really does want a relationship. We just gotta wait it. I'm gonna wait it out. I'm gonna show him that he
I
wants
got
a relationship.
I got the superpower too.
I got everything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got greens, beans, tomatoes, potatoes. I got everything. And it's like, no, this man has told you that he does not want to be in a relationship, but that's not what we hear. What we hear is, he's not ready yet. I got to give a little bit more of myself. I got to give him the Julia experience. You know what I mean? We do
But
all of
what if
that. It's
what
like,
what
no.
what do you think if he just says, you know, slow down a little bit. I'm just not ready for a relationship so fast. Let's really just get to know each other. Maybe he feels like it's more of like, and I hate to use this phrase, but maybe it should be more like a vetting process.
So
And
here's the thing. If your standards are strong and solid and your standards are in place, you would have already gotten to know him before you have this conversation.
because you're right, because a lot of times people take when a person is going through the quote unquote vetting process as a curve. Oh, they curved me. Oh, they wasn't interested. And it wasn't the fact of the person wasn't interested. It was the fact that this person needs to, and maybe they need that for themselves to go very, very slow, because they may have had those same. And this is like you said, when you get to know a person and really conversate and have those type of conversations, that person may be a person that has been through some stuff, and they always was someone that rushed into certain situations. So now that they realize, you know what, I got to be real cautious of my decisions and choices. So I'm moving real slow and judiciously, and like I got to take my time.
And that's representative of their standards, and that's fine. And if you agree with that, and you care for them and you're willing to take that journey with them and allow them to have that time to do that reflection and to be sure in their choice, I think it's beneficial in the long run, because you understand where they are and you understand what they're willing to offer to you, which is also important and is also outlined in this chapter. Like, if someone says to you that they want to take their time and they're not sure, don't lay out the red carpet.
Mm, mm.
Laying out the red carpet is not going to convince them that that
That goes
you're
back to
it.
that goes back to the superpower thing that you be thinking, you be so confident in your superpower that you be like, I don't even hear what they saying. Like, you trying to force a round peg in a square. Like, I ain't even paying them no mind. I ain't even listening to them. I'm gonna just continue to try to pursue. And it actually starts out as, and this is where you spoke about in the book, where it becomes like a stalkish behavior.
Doing too much. Hashtag doing too much. Like, if you have one of your standards can be, I listen to what people say to me. I don't make up my own mind about what I want to hear. I truly listen and I attempt to understand, and I adjust my behavior accordingly, because there are plenty that speaking of falling into relationships, there are plenty of men and women who started out by saying that they didn't want to be in a relationship. Someone laid out the red carpet for them. They took advantage of that, took that for granted, got all of the benefits, and decided that they didn't want to leave because they enjoyed the benefits, but not the person.
Mm. And when the benefits ran out, or if they ran out, they're just there for the benefits, the perks, the side
Just for
dishes, the side effects of love, as you say.
the side effect, and when the benefits run out, and the reason why the benefits went out is because the person eventually identifies, observes, and feels that there's not reciprocity or a mutual investment. And then they're like, wait a minute, I'm cutting off the benefits.
So,
Well,
so
nobody
let every
really asked you for them in the beginning.
so so let everyone in the chat know what we decided to do with this chapter because it's the biggest chapter in the book.
Yeah, so we decided that we're going to split this chapter into two shows. So we're doing the first part of the chapter today, which is really about examining, our choices and our standards, and um, avoiding the ouch before we say no, not falling into relationships and things like that. And next week we'll talk about, the importance of understanding how the choices that we make affect other people's choices,
Mm.
and and sets up stereotypes. So to be mindful of that. And then we'll also talk about, being honest with yourself about what you really want, and then how to manifest what you want for yourself.
So those in the chat, Julia gave you guys the format of what we're going to do next week. One thing that we want to do next week is we kind of want to go over some of these exercises that Julia lays out in the book, because having these exercises and writing things down for those that are into, like, as Julia said when she started this, it basically started out with journaling. Having these exercises, say if you wrote your weekly planner out for your week, what you're going to do. I'm going to work on Monday. After I get off work, I'm going to do laundry, such and such and such. Then on Tuesday, I'm going to go to the grocery store. Having this out, having your weekly planner out, and then going over it again the following week will show you, like, okay, I wasted a bunch of time doing nothing. Um, or I used my time wisely this week. So what we want to do is we want to look more into the book, and use a couple of the exercises and go over it each week to really examine our personal journey. Because even going over the book as a review for the shows, it allows you to assess yourself for where you're at. So, Julia, do you have any Final thoughts and comments.
I just before our show, I was attending a community board meeting, and one of our little citizens offered a joke that was hilarious. So I wanted to share the joke with the chat. So so with you in our audience. So what is the only question that cannot answer yes to?
The only question that you cannot answer yes to.
Right.
Anybody in the chat know that before I even try? I can't even try that.
It was from one of our little citizens. I don't think they're more than 10 years old. It was so sweet. Anybody trying?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. Not yet. The only question that you cannot answer yes to. Dwayne said he has the Jeopardy theme in his head. Nicole said why. It
That's
just
a good
goes to it just goes to show that our little citizens, and it's good that this little citizen was at the community meeting. They're definitely learning early, for learning early about community engagement.
Yes, they
So,
are.
can we get the answer?
Yes. The only question that you cannot answer yes to is, are you asleep?
Folks, I hope that the this reminds me of when when we were younger and we said something crazy and our elders looked at us and was like, "This ain't the time or the place for your stuff." 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, this little person was with their grandparents, and and the grandparent was probably dozing off at the meeting, and, and they yeah, it's funny the way some people do answer that, right? They, they be talking about, yeah, I'm asleep, but
Yes.
they really be wide awoke, or no, I'm
Oh
just resting my
my
eyes.
God.
But yeah, that was something, right?
Cute.
Listen, everybody in the chat, we appreciate you guys to the fullest. Like I always say, remember, you got the guys in the chat help us make the show, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. It's very very interesting what we go through throughout the week, and being able to uh, reassess, re go through Julia's book. Me and Julia talk constantly about the book, and it's kind of amazing when you realize the journey that we you have to go through just to go through the book each week. So with that, remember to like, share, and subscribe. With that, have a good week, everyone.
Have a good one.